Well, bonjour. It's a blue sky morning, finally, after a week of gray skies here in Paris. But today we're gonna see the best sights of Paris. So we're starting out here, going up to Montmartre and the famous Sacré-Cœur Church to see the view of Paris while it's very clear. So already it's a little after 9 and Paris is full of tourists still, a lot of tourists. Tourist season is still in high mode, so they'll dissipate when it gets colder, hopefully. Well, I won't be here, but I remember visiting Paris when there weren't such big crowds, but this is happening in all the famous cities of the world. Too many tourists, too many, and so long waits for entrance to the famous sites. And there she is. Okay. So you can either climb the stairs, or I believe they still run a little train, a funicular, that goes up for those who cannot climb. Okay, and here we are at the funicular. So it's not very long. It just helps you get up the hill without having to do all the steps. So as you see, funiculars work by equilibrium. So as one goes up, one comes down exactly at the same time, and they meet in the middle, and that way they use the centrifugal force to help pull the cars up the hill. So these are very new modern cars. I remember the old ones. I think they were wooden when I first rode it in the 80s. But anyway, we're gonna go up the hill and take the view of Paris. So the 10-second train ride, very short, but for the same price as you could ride the metro throughout the whole city, like for an hour. So 10 seconds versus an hour for the same price. But it saves you the climb up the hill. So here we are at Sacré-Cœur. Oh la la. And there's Paris right below us. It's a little bit hazy. Might be clearer later in the afternoon maybe, but still you can see how big Paris is. Wow. And this big tradition that started here in Paris with all the locks. Oh my god. It started in Paris, oh god, decades ago. And now people do it all over the world. And there's just so many locks. You just wonder what happens to them all after a while. Hopefully they get recycled, because that's a lot of metal that needs to be recycled in some positive way. Wow. So already a street musician this early in the morning. Wow. Okay. Voila. Paris. And there's tons of little souvenirs you can buy in Paris. Everyone wants their own little Eiffel Tower. And here's signage about Sacré-Cœur. So here on the side, Sacré-Cœur is not a really old church, built at the end of the 19th century, but next to it is a very old church, an abbey, Saint-Pierre de Montmartre, and it says from the 7th century it was started. Wow. So they have a Gothic church here. So many big tour groups today. Wow. Pardon. And as we turn the corner, we enter the quaint neighborhood of Montmartre, where all the famous artists used to hang out. Let's try and get ahead of this group. Oh, pardon. Here we go. Now we got a little bit better view. So Montmartre is on a hilltop. So that's the north side, and we came up the south side of the hill. And the heart of Montmartre is coming up, where people hang out by all the cafes. And here we are. This little square is jam-packed with cafes and tables and chairs. So it will fill up for lunch. All these tables and chairs will be filled. So there are artists that are still making their art for you, original art you can buy in a memory of Paris. I'm doing a pastel portraits. So let's take a look over here. It's a very cool Art Nouveau house right here. Wow. And in the distance is the Paris Opera. So it's a little bit smoggy, but at least it's not gray skies. So we're making our way down from Montmartre back into the city below. And there's this charming park with these big trees and benches. And always cafes. A lot of places to have a coffee or drink. So this has a little bit of a view, I guess. You can sit here and look below at the city below. Okay, let's go down. Okay, so we're almost down the hill, but in front of us is a landmark cafe restaurant that was used at the location for a very big hit French film called Amélie. So very famous, so they're able to charge good prices because everyone wants to eat here because of the movie.
Quick stop for another question about the movie. This time it's a French movie about...
It's on everybody's tour. But here's a lovely bakery. Oh, the breads are so good. And the pastries. Here's a little hat shop. How cool is that? Wow. Okay. So as we get to the bottom of the street at the intersection, or in a place called Pigalle, where very famous for its nightlife. It used to be very, very seedy, but I think it's not that seedy anymore. Most of Paris has been cleaned up a great deal for the Olympics. And the reason why it's so famous here is this Moulin Rouge nightclub. You can see everyone taking photos here. And a few months ago, it was in the news that the old windmill arms, they broke, so they had to replace them because this place has been here for over 150 years almost. Anyway, famous nightclub show, expensive of course, but it's a tradition in Paris that people like, tourists like. All right, let's continue down. So we're back down in the main part of town, and these are the wide boulevards that were designed in the early 19th century, the Haussmann period as they called it, Boulevard Haussmann, and they tore down a lot of the old medieval Paris to build wider streets. and coded the city architecture. So it came be traditional that buildings would have 5 floors, so buildings wouldn't be high or small, they'd kind of all be the same height. And Le Roi Lion. So they're doing Disney's Lion King here in Paris. Wow. I saw it in Sao Paulo. I saw it in New York. I saw it in LA. But I don't think I'm gonna come see it in Paris. Beautiful buildings. So up ahead is the world famous Paris Opera. We'll get there in a couple of minutes. So right behind the Paris Opera is the most famous department store in Paris, Galeries Lafayette, and they pumping out music, and feel good music, so you shop and buy more. It's so funny. And here's the back end of the Paris Opera. And at the very top are the world famous ballet studios. So the front of the opera is being restored, so we cannot see it because it's all covered up. But here I can show you the back of the opera, and beautiful, beautiful, ornate opera house, considered the most beautiful in the world and copied by many, many other cities. So very busy Paris Avenue here in front of the Galeries Lafayette. So we're gonna go in and I'll show you what's famous about the Galeries Lafayette. So this is what makes this department store so famous, is the beautiful stained glass dome at the center. And you have the best of the best here in this department store. Whatever you want, the designer you want, they have it. Galeries Lafayette. Beautiful. So they built this glass walkway out to view the dome, but you need to buy a ticket. So we have to book a ticket if you want to go out there. Glass walk. Réservez votre place. But I think this view is just as good right here. So there you go, Galeries Lafayette done. Well, here's a man on the sidewalk. here's the side of the Paris Opera. It was wild seeing mostly Asians shopping like crazy in the Galerie Lafayette, buying super expensive handbags and Chanel clothing. Just amazing how much money they spend here. So the opera has a restaurant here on the side. Kijk eens hier. Wow. Yeah. So funny, this Dutch family. They bought that giant croissant. So here you can see the front of the Paris Opera is all boarded up for the restoration. Very sad, but necessary. So on this side they have a restaurant, and on the other side is the library, which I was able to visit once. Very important archive for opera ballet. Okay, we're in front, and as you can see, it's all boarded up. But this is Place de l'Opéra, and it leads to the Seine River down this big avenue. And on the corner is one of the famous cafes. Very expensive cafe called Café de la Paix. Very beautiful. $10 cups of coffee. And as you can see how wide the avenues here are. And there's the metro down below. Okay, let's cross here. ¡Viva España! So they're having a really good time here. So as you can see, this is the huge intersection of avenues. So we're going ahead to a very, very beautiful place called Place Vendôme. And the famous Ritz Hotel is down there. If you have like a millionaire budget, you can stay at the Ritz Hotel.
Yes.
You do? Oh, congratulations. I'm happy for you. Are you staying at the Ritz?
I'm joking.
Oh, okay, okay.
Not for the moment.
Okay. Next time.
Yeah, next day.
You too. So, a lot of really beautiful shops are on this street. Oh, mon Dieu, mon Dieu, mon Dieu. beautiful. Oh my gosh. So if you want to buy something really fancy for your house, this is the place to come. Oh my. So Gallery Lafayette kind of made it easy for a lot of tourists to shop because they have all the designers in the department store. But there are the main stores are out here. Oh, how funny. There's a Bank of Iran. No longer, oh my gosh, Bank of Iran. Anyway. Beautiful jewelry. Cartier. So yes, if you have lots and lots of money, you come around here and go shopping. Shop, shop, shop. Even Tiffany of New York has a shop over here. Wow. And here we are, Place de Vendôme, and there's the House of Chanel on the, and this is Bulgari, and there's another Cartier, and there's the Ritz, the best hotel in Paris. Okay, so from here we're going to continue to the Louvre and show the entrance where they have the famous glass pyramid. But just taking in the beautiful architecture of Place Vendôme. And the Great Column. So this is the famous Rue Saint-Honoré, and they have a lot of high-end shopping on this street. We're not going to go down it, but it is quite amazing. So always renovation going on. Renovation, renovation. Oh, la. But these diamonds are beautiful. Oh. And this is elegant. Wow. Beautiful. Okay.
大丈夫？してもし悪い感じで。
So here's a very fancy hotel, the Westin in Paris, facing the Louvre. Beautiful, it's like a palace. So here we are at the Tuileries, the garden in front of the Louvre, and we got across the street. So, because the Louvre used to be the royal palace of the king, all along were the court and the nobles. They lived here in splendor to be close to the king. So now there's all these upscale shops, and one of the nice things in Paris are the macarons. This is the most famous shop to buy these cookies. They're very famous cookies. So this is a very beautiful hotel, and what are they waiting for? I think they're waiting for, oh, Angelina, the best chocolate in Paris. Okay, hot chocolate. They sell cups of delicious hot chocolate. My mother's name was Angelina, so when we went to Paris, we bought some of their hot chocolate, famous cafe. So now we cross the street and you can see the uniformity of all the buildings here. So it must be really nice living up there facing the park and the Louvre. And here's the entrance to the metro. And the entrance to the park, the Jardin des Tuileries. And it's blocked off down here as they're redoing the walkway. So we're gonna have to go back out on the street and go up. Okay. All right, so we found the entrance to the Tuileries. There's a road that goes under it. here we are. It's still beautiful. Beginning of fall, still green. All the leaves have not fallen off the trees yet, which they will. The trees will get bare in winter. And here we are in front of the Louvre. So this whole thing used to be the palace of the King of France. And there's a French poodle. And the kids on their school trip. And the Eiffel Tower. We'll get closer later to the Eiffel Tower, but right now this is one of, besides Notre Dame de Paris, the cathedral, and Montmartre, where we just went to this morning. The Louvre is really, I think, the #1 tourist visitor location. Been to the museum many times, so I don't need to revisit it with the crowds. It's just so crowded now in Paris. So the Louvre is the world's largest museum. It takes days if you want to see everything, and it takes many hours just to see a few highlights. If you go from one end that way, from the beginning, this gigantic. So there we go. There's the famous glass pyramid, which Dan Brown's famous novel and the movie with Tom Hanks, they used. For those who haven't seen the Da Vinci Code, it's a key spot at the end of the movie. But the crowds, oh my God. I think this might be the last time I come to Paris. I can't take the crowds anymore. Unless I get a lot of money and you get the VIP tickets and you can skip all the crowds.
€1.
Okay, well, on to more sights of Paris. We're gonna go by the Seine River to a very famous bridge. So what's interesting is the old signage where they used to have separate entrances to different areas of art. And so here was sculpture from the Middle Ages and Renaissance, which had the Michelangelo statues, and the Flemish and Dutch paintings. So back when there were not tons and tons of tourists, and you would be able to go to different entrances of the museum, but now there's only one entrance and you have to wait a long line to get in. Okay, here we go. And there you go, the facade of the Louvre, Palace of the King of France. And of course, when Napoleon took over, he made a lot of monuments to himself, so they put his name up there. And they named this little area out of the President Francois Mitterrand. So in front of us is an old train station, which is now a very, very famous museum. The Musée d'Orsay. It used to be the Gare d'Orsay. And it holds all the Impressionist art of the great Impressionist painters of Paris. And there's some swans down there in the River Seine. Oh. So one last look at the Louvre. Is huge. It was the largest palace of its time. So below are some traditional houseboats that people keep permanently moored here on the river, and some of them are even Airbnb, and you can rent a room and stay on a boat on the River Seine here in Paris. Okay, so we're at the Pont de la Concorde, the Bridge of the Concorde, because this is Place de Concorde, the great square in front of the Tuileries, and they have Egyptian obelisks that they stole from Egypt. Napoleon brought back from Egypt when he conquered Egypt. And there's amazing buildings behind it. On the left is Hotel Concorde, very amazing hotel. And ahead of us is the famous bridge I promised, with the golden statues on it. It's so beautiful. And the Eiffel Tower. So obviously this is one of the great photo shoots in Paris, with the Eiffel Tower and the bridge and the River Seine. Okay, so one more stop on this tour, video tour, and that will be in front of the Eiffel Tower. Okay, let's get there. So here's another view as we get closer of this beautiful bridge, and behind it is the Grand Palais Cristal, so with the glass dome. So after the International Exhibition in London that built the first Crystal Palace, it was duplicated here later in Paris in a grander style, I believe, and it just has finished a huge renovation. Okay, here's the grand finale for this video. We are at the Trocadero, which is across the river from the Eiffel Tower. So we have the best view of the Eiffel Tower. been up to the Eiffel Tower, but now with the lines and all the big tour groups, I don't dare try to wait to go up there. But there she is in all her glory. So this beautiful space at Trocadero has a theater in it and a museum. It's a cultural center.
Allora, big Italian classic. With this beautiful sign, I can't help myself.
So on the first platform, there's a very, very exclusive restaurant, the Jules Verne, very upscale. I think in one of the James Bond movies, they used that location. And then there's a second platform, and then you can go all the way up to the top where Monsieur Eiffel had an apartment, and it's a museum. You can look in the little room that he used to live in at the very top. Very amazing. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video of Paris, and I say thank you again for watching the videos, and this video is dedicated to a very good friend who inspired me to start making videos. And so you know who you are, and I hope you like it. Okay, bye. Okay, so I'm gonna add this little part to the video at the end, because here at the bottom, at the foot of the Eiffel Tower, I remember you used to be able to just walk up to the elevators and buy your ticket, but now because of high security, the age we live in, they have fenced it off, and the access is through this glass area where it's high security, and they check your bags because obviously they don't want terrorists to destroy the Eiffel Tower. But it's quite amazing how everything has changed so much. So before you used to be able for free walk underneath the Eiffel Tower. No longer. You have to buy a ticket to go up to just be under the Eiffel Tower now, because they have these glass walls around the Eiffel Tower.
Desde allá